broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Good Wife After Show right here on AfterBuzzTV.com. We are in Season 6 talking Loser Edit tonight on Easter night. Happy Easter to all of you out there. Happy Sunday. I'm Bobby. This is Alison and Tara.
Guys,
as always, ladies, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
How did you guys have a Sunday today? You guys have brunch, do all that good stuff?
My Sunday was amazing. I went to church.
Check her out on Instagram, please.
I had a brunch. I had my big church hat on.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It was amazing. Check me out on Instagram. Share all the wonderful pictures there.
Yes, check out the big Easter hats. It was fantastic.
As amazing as your Easter was, I think it was decidedly not that amazing for one Alicia Florrick.
Not at all.
So let's jump into this today.
That was great transition.
Yeah, that was great, yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah. You guys ruined it by talking about it. You're not supposed to mention it. You're supposed to be smooth and just let's go.
Well, we had to call you out, but it was cute. Just
I give credit where credit's due.
All right. It's going to be one of those shows.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So let's talk about Alicia. This is obviously the thing to get in. Petra, the interview. It looks like a softball. Then it looks like it's going to be about the emails. And then all of a sudden there's a left turn at the end. And it's about this new voting thing. I've got a crazy prediction about that, but I'm going to hold on to that. Let's start with the Saint Alicia thing. There's a key here with Petra and Eli fighting. And at one point, Petra says to him, I believe, you started the St. Alicia thing. You deserve this, whatever that whole situation was. And we start to see Eli not come unglued, but have to do a lot of work, and it's not really his job.
Yeah, Eli is all in this mix, and I know Johnny's gone, but I'm like, I thought you were the assistant or you were helping the governor. You're spending tons of time on Alicia. She's not even campaigning longer. Is she even in office yet? It's like
she hasn't even assumed office. Absolutely not.
Yet, and he's spending all of his time helping her. I understand he's trying to be as helpful as possible because she needs the help,
and she needs to look good with the husband who is the governor.
Right.
But still, like you can't. There's got to be a point where Eli has to say, okay, I need to trust my own kid with this, Marissa with this, or whatever.
Oh no. I love Marissa, but if all Marissa seems to do is offer Alicia food. You want a cracker? You want coffee?
That's
you want
the
tea?
solution.
She eats a lot herself. She needs to get on a little workout plan.
Listen, 85% of the time, food is the solution to 85% of your problems.
Chocolate.
Right? Yeah.
Chocolate mainly.
Just if something's going wrong, just offer food.
Yeah.
You're good.
It works for me.
Everything but the IRS. You're good. Just give them food. The IRS doesn't go for that.
Right.
But ask Willie Nelson. But anything other than that, you're good. Just anybody, anytime. That's a life lesson for you guys. But this Petra, she definitely seems to have a grudge. Peter calls her out on it. But she seems to be going after Alicia real hard. It's going to be a softball at first. And then once she starts getting these leaked things, is it unfair what Petra's doing? Has she crossed the line? Or
I think as a journalist, she's showing that she's too thirsty. It's too much. You know what I'm saying? It's like, are you desperate? You know, you don't have anything else. Is this the only thing that's keeping your job right now?
Right.
This only story. So it's just looks like she's screaming out for help, like she's desperate for something.
And it's not to knock any bloggers. I love all bloggers out there, but Eli made a point of saying you came from the blogging world as if to give her career less legitimacy. So it seems as if she's trying to prove herself. But I don't think she's doing anything differently than any other journalist out there would do. Like, you're starting a puff piece, then all of a sudden you get these emails that can take your puff piece and now make you, what is everyone striving to do? Go viral now and become like the big name, and you break the big scandal. I don't think she's doing anything differently than anybody else, but I don't think it's a smart move on her part. It seems like given her position, but unfortunately, by the end of the episode, she came out on top. At least in this episode,
it seems personal. Does she have something against Alicia? Yay or nay? And my thing with her, Peter did good, but this is the thing that got the reporter lady over Petra. Peter was telling too much info in the interview. you never let her know, like, oh, we have something against you. You know, he's mentioning all the other reporter names, so that gave her time to go switch her story around. If you just would have kept it simple and didn't drop any names, she still would have put that same one out, and she would have failed.
I think so, but I actually loved him dropping the names because he dominated her in that interview. That was Peter playing the right way, and it was a total power play for him. Being like, you want to do this? We gotcha. We're going to play with you.
It still gave her time to. She was nervous and scared, but then she was like, "Oh, I'm going to get you guys. You thought you had me. I'm going to come back even stronger." And this kind of is a little bit worse than that whole scandalous affair type of ordeal.
It is, yeah. This would affect a career more than just a couple emails about sex.
I see why it's loser edit. It kind of fall back on them. Like, you guys were doing good, but you shouldn't throw the names out. Could have played it safe by just going along with the interview instead of, all that.
That's true.
Yeah.
But Peter cracked her face, and I would love how she sat there trying to pull it together. I'm really surprised that the manager, I guess the person who's the editor over the paper, would go so far with this next story. I mean, now she has to report something, but it kind of seems to me as if, she was pushing the scandalous story. They caught you, they got you, they leaked the story to someone else, so now your face is cracked. I wouldn't go toe-to-toe with the governor's office like this. I wouldn't go toe-to-toe with the SA or the governor's office and now push this other thing unless you have really reliable sources. Yeah. We don't know whether they have reliable sources or not, but it seems to just come out of left field.
Yeah, so even though it looks like, she came out on top on this episode, it might backfire on her because it's like, okay, now, what do you have to back this up? What evidence do you have? And she may just went off of a rumor or went off a rage, like, I have to think of something to get back at him. So we shall see.
And you're right, Allison. The voter fraud allegations are much worse than a couple of emails. Yeah. So especially when it was back in her private life and all that sort of stuff. So if the voter allegations are true, that would have been the thing you ran with. You wouldn't have even worried about the emails. Yeah. Unless, maybe Petra got them very late and turned it around very quickly, and maybe the timing is there. But, yeah, you would definitely run with the voter allegation and see the emails and be like, interesting footnote, not the main point here, if she truly rigged an election.
Right. And I think the thing about the election is that even if it isn't true, and Petra will have, if it's not true, Petra will have to deal with that. But it's a big enough story that will make everyone think about it twice.
And reconsider.
And, everything. It's just the mere allegation of it is enough to cause a huge trouble in Alicia's, not even campaign, like not even her office, even before she even takes over the office. It just it caused a lot of questions.
But then again, it always could look like someone's new coming to the office and people are trying to start drama and rumor to bring negative attention towards her. So, I don't know, because Eli did say, we're in trouble, as if you're confirming that that's accurate or not.
Yeah, I think it's a trouble because now it's just something else bigger to deal with. I mean, it took him from what we saw in the episode, it took him 2 seconds to come up with a 2-pronged step to deal with this whole, come on, he's been helping out Peter. He knows how to handle these kind of scandals. Like, this is no big deal. He does this every day. But this about the election rigging, it just takes it to a whole different level. And it's a lot of questions. And that could really be an offense that could harm everybody. It could pull Peter in. Of course, everyone's going to look at Peter first, and that's Eli's main. Even though Eli's been working a lot with Alicia, he's still out to protect Peter in the governor's office.
And even if she's not rigging elections, which we'll talk about later in predictions maybe, this would follow her, even just the hint of it would follow her from a legitimate news source. If it were, a blog or whatever they say pejoratively about, blogs and stuff, that's a little bit different maybe. But this is a legitimate news station or whatever. This will still follow her around. People still talk about the 2000 election in Florida between Gore and Bush.
Yep.
So,
Don't get me started on that. I'm just kidding.
This would be an interesting thing to follow her around and whatever. All I can say is my prediction last week of Alicia not making it as state's attorney looking pretty damn good.
It is looking good. I thought about that, Bobby. I was like, because last week, I know Allison, you weren't here, but last week when Bobby said that, I was like, I'm up in arms. My mouth was open. My hands were up. But it's looking.
I've always said that she was a weak link, and it's proving that she's a weak link.
This is a lot. This, and we saw, the episode as well as the previews for next week. This position requires a lot. And I've always thought that because of the fact that Alicia's been by Peter's side through his entire career, I thought she would be, better and, have a stiffer chin than this.
Exactly.
But it seems like she's falling apart.
She's falling apart. She can't handle it. And she's going to run back into Peter's arms for help, as we see.
As we saw.
And the preview's coming up. she's running back in his arms like, I can't do this.
Because I told you guys, Peter still loves Alicia.
No. Let's get to that. Peter said, I loved you. and I love you. But that does not mean that I am in love with you.
He
it's
said,
a difference.
I still love you.
But it doesn't. I still love you. I was married to you. I still love you. I loved you, and I love you. But it's not like I'm in love with you.
I'm gonna get a
That's
T-shirt.
like you have an ex-husband. Like some people, if your relationships are good, like kind of like there's your man. I still love you, but no, I don't have butterflies. I'm not in love with you. I don't want to rush and come home to you. I don't want to come have sex with you. I actually want to have sex with my mistress because I'm not in love with you. It's not there.
You know what it's like? I just finished doing the Kardashians after show. It's like Kris Jenner and Bruce Jenner. They were together for 25 years. They love each other as people, as parents of children.
Bruce loved that,
but they don't. You know, they're not in love. That's exactly what it's like.
But it's similar to that.
Just
yes.
blew my mind.
Yeah, but it is. But I don't think
personally, I'm
that
offended
he's in
that you
love
even
with her.
brought the Kardashians, no offense, into this whole good wife world.
Yeah, that's kind of
Thank you.
a little trashy to bring them into this classy.
You shut your mouth.
I'm sorry.
You shut your mouth.
That was you just. Good wife is kind of very upscale,
Thank
classy,
you.
and that is like reality TV.
All right, well, cut their mics. We're just going to do me for the rest of the show. No, but okay, this scene with Peter, this is an interesting scene, not just for the love thing, but he was obviously trying to have sex.
Didn't I tell you that?
Yeah.
We was watching it, and before, because I know everything, before it even got to that, I said, he want to get in them drawers.
She
wants
did.
that.
Let me confirm that statement. She did actually. Well, she alluded to that, but she used other language that we will not use
that we will not
here.
use.
But
in
she
the moral of
did
the story,
say that.
I'm telling you, there's a marketplace for an Alison Law TV show where she just watches TV and comments on it.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like pop-up video, but with Allison
It's coming
talking
soon, guys.
about it.
I totally hate that you guys are not able to listen on some of the comments that I hear. Because
I'm a really funny person, but I have to keep it PG-13 for you all out there.
Unbelievable.
But if we could piggyback, remember that scene? I mentioned it to Tara, but I don't know if she caught it. Maybe you caught it, Buddy. But Alicia said something like, I'm over love, or I can't deal with love anymore.
She said something like, I wish love meant something to
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
So what is she saying right now?
I think she's just burned out. I think she's burned out by Will dying because she really loved him.
Yeah.
So she loved him more than her husband.
I think at the time that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, in a different way. Yeah, maybe in the time and the circumstance. But Will dying, Peter in that whole situation, which has been years in the making, and then not love, but little romantic things like Johnny, like Finn.
Yeah.
You know, those are not. She's not in love with those people. I mean, I know some of y'all are Team Finn.
There you go.
But there's still an attachment. There's still an interest or whatever. And I think she's been. Not rejected, but it's not worked in so many ways that she's in that point in her life where she's like, you know what? It doesn't happen. It's not working. I don't believe in it. Screw it.
Right.
You know.
I just had one question before we moved off this topic. Was that Peter's first time knowing about the Will Gardner affair? Because it was too calm for me. Like, okay, what's up? This is what's going to happen.
That was
I know
the
he
beauty.
suspected before.
Yeah, I definitely suspected.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that was the beauty of the scene to me when he said, I think this is maturity because Peter knows Alicia and Alicia knows Peter, right? So even if everyone's trying to put that Saint Alicia image out there, he knows that she's not Saint Alicia, and she definitely knows that Peter is no saint.
Yeah.
So for them to really just come clean and say, this is what it is, and we've decided we're no longer going to be a real couple, but we're going to play this part for both of our careers, then let's just talk about what needs to be done in order to advance both of our careers. And I appreciated that. So I don't know if he really knew or not, but he's just kind of like, all right, if that is what it is, this is what we need to do.
But knowing Peter, I think this was just confirmation of what he already knew in his head.
Right.
I think he assumed it and understood it, and he was correct. But I think it's funny, like, not to stereotype it too much, but I think the people who are cheating are also the people who are jealous. you know?
Of course.
So,
Come on now.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so he's probably, and he didn't, I don't know if he's shown general, I guess there are probably scenes, we can go back in several seasons and look, but I don't know if he showed outright rage and jealousy towards her.
Right.
But he definitely probably had it festering inside. And once you learn it, you kind of confirm everything. Now, if Will were still alive, if it were still going on, it would have been different. But he's been dead for so long.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what are you going to, you can't go to his grave.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Like, what am I getting mad at now?
Yeah.
Right.
And that wine, man, don't have wine with Peter because you know what's going to happen.
Hey,
Especially
man.
red wine. They probably sipping on some cab.
I'll take it. You can call me. I'll do it. I'm just kidding. I
Wine
love
gets you
Peter.
in the mood. It relaxes you. And sometimes it can get you in trouble.
Oh, goodness. All right. Anything else on Petra? It will be interesting to see what happens next week with that bombshell. I'm going to hold on to my prediction for the predictions.
Yeah,
but
I'm curious because Peter did say that Petra has been after Alicia for 3 years
That's what I'm
now,
saying,
and I don't
personal.
remember anything like that. And if you guys out there listening or watching know something that we're
I
forgetting,
know
let
what
us
it
know.
is. Peter and Petra had a secret affair, and she's jealous of Alicia.
not beyond
You
the
know
pale.
how females can be now.
Not beyond the pale. I think what it is, too, is Peter understands he's on camera, he's mic'd up, and if he, even if it's not true, if he can just, it's that planting a seed of doubt, just like the election rigging. If he can plant a seed on camera, and they'll never run that part of the interview,
Totally never.
but just plant the seed in front of the editor, in front of the news director or whatever, and say, you have a personal vendetta. Journalists don't want to have a personal, it can't be personal.
Right.
There's an ethics there where you have to have a dividing line. So if he accuses her of having a personal vendetta, the governor to her face, she looks awful. Whether or not it's true, it doesn't matter. She looks awful. So.
And my last thing about those emails, I feel like, I know I wasn't here last week, but I think they should have took the case, sue them as much as they could, because at the end of the day, I feel like they still was going to leak the emails. So why not get all that money on top of that? And they weren't that bad. They were tripping over that. So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think those emails are real bad, if only for the fact that it just piggybacks on what's wrong with Peter and all the things Peter has done wrong, and the corruption, allegations, and the personal allegations, and then it's like, wait, his wife's involved in politics now.
Yeah.
She's doing the same thing. Here we go again.
But what lawyer sits at their desk and emails from their work?
We talked about that. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we said.
Exactly what
Who
we
would
said.
do that?
Like,
That's
who would
just
do that?
stupid.
But that maybe is a generational thing. I don't know if the writers thought about this, but it's a generational
Maybe it's
thing.
an
Like as
older
much
thing.
as
Yeah,
as much as we
generational
used
thing.
email, we would never be like, hey, let's send these dirty
I
emails
would
from
be
our work
texting
account.
like,
Your
look here, boo.
touch. I can't forget your touch. You're out at depositions. I was like, what?
I would be on my WhatsApp texting from my WhatsApp. Like, okay.
There you go. WhatsApp. WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. If
Yeah,
you want to
WhatsApp.
cheat and you don't want your regular
that's
text
not why I
messages
use
pop
it.
up.
That's not why I use
I use it for my international friends, but if you don't want anyone in your business and your text messages pop up, WhatsApp, it doesn't pop up.
Is it
and
like
show.
anonymous or something? Can you
Maybe some way to hide text messages.
or do you make a username, or is it your name? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's your name. It's your phone
But
number.
WhatsApp, and the guy's really gonna go through a phone like, ooh, what's WhatsApp, and open it up like, ooh, text messages,
There you go,
Just
Alicia.
a safer way.
You know what to do next
should've
time.
used
Now you
WhatsApp.
know what to do. The Alison Law way is WhatsApp.
Alison Law is always
Alison
right.
Law saves the world. Let's move on to the other really interesting thing for me in this show, which is Kalinda. Kalinda
Yes.
is screwed.
All the way
Honey,
around.
we're not gonna talk about that because I was saying in the room, she's just a mess. This episode really, I seen another side of Kalinda. I thought Kalinda was this boss, powerful lady, but this episode, I think she ruined it for herself. And had she played it cool, I don't think they would have really found out. And by her being extra and scared, and first and foremost, why would you go run your mouth to Finn? I think she should have played it cool and kept it cool, and it would have never happened. And she messed it up for Diane, and she's just a mess. It's time to get her off the show.
For me, I think Kalinda going to Finn just showed how nervous she was. But her originally going to Finn, I don't think, in this whole thing, I don't think she really cares about what happens to her. I think she really cares about how this affects Diane, given the fact that Diane really didn't know. If she had told Diane what she did and Diane still decided to use it, then it'd be like, every man for himself. But Diane to this day doesn't know she did anything wrong. She thought she won the case and got, I think it was Carrie's parole back. I can't remember, but something on with Carrie's case with the metadata. So Diane has no idea. So Kalinda going to Finn was just to simply say, how much have I screwed up somebody else? Because I think if it was her, she'd be like, all right, I'll pack a bag, I'll escape, whatever Kalinda would do to get out
Kalinda
of
could
this.
call Bishop to kill the investigator guy, and it's done.
That would be something.
That would be,
That would
that's
be
a
good.
prediction.
Like, Lamont, you owe me a favor this time. Can you kill this guy?
That is a hell of a prediction.
That is a heck of a prediction.
But no, the thing that always struck me with Kalinda in that scene with Finn, the first scene where she says, hypothetically,
Right.
if you have a person... Kalinda's been an investigator at a law firm for how long? I know you're not a lawyer. You still, at that level, know the law. And basic things like this. What happens when a lawyer lies in court? What happens when a lawyer promotes false evidence in court? Those are basic things you would know as an investigator of a law firm. You shouldn't even need to go to Finn for that information. And I know they're developing the whole Kalinda's story with the hypotheticals and whatever, but it makes her look so unprofessional to even have to go. You should have known in the first place. And you knew at the time when you did the metadata, you knew that was wrong. She had a discussion about how that was wrong.
Right.
And then Howell looked away or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So it's if you know it's wrong, and you should know about Diane in court, you've known about the consequences for a long time.
But if we go back, she actually was not going to end up using that.
She wasn't.
Information.
That's true. But she still would know the consequences when it gets used.
I think knowing the consequences and then realizing that the situation is coming up and I need to confirm that I know I've screwed up somebody, I think that's what it was. I mean, I think you're right. I think she knew 100% what Finn was going to say. She was hoping that Finn was not going to say what she knew already. And now she's trying to scramble to fix it when she realizes, I can't fix it. It's already done. It's out there.
How did it get switched from the ASA to Kalinda?
Because Kalinda was the one who did the metadata.
No, remember in the beginning he came and he was like, I think it was Geneva girl.
Right. Well, he figured out that, he just figured out, he put two and two together after he talked to Howell and Kalinda and was like, your stories just fit.
Well, not only that, but remember, the detective Prima, his email was deleted at 3:38 p.m. when he was testifying in a burglary case from 2:30 to 5:30. Mm-hmm. He would have been testifying to ASA Pine.
Right.
She would have been the state's attorney who was prosecuting it. So he would have said, wait a second, they were in court, and then we can go for this thing, whatever that is. But it's interesting to me that Kalinda was so... maybe she knew this was coming up anyway. She just seemed so ignorant to it coming up, and when Wiley started, putzing around.
I'm surprised it was such a big thing. And I remember when the episode came up, we all said, this is going to come back again. Remember, when we figured out the detective and the ASA were having an affair, and they never touched upon it anymore, we were like, wait a minute, this is going to come back again. I guess I would have expected Kalinda when the incident happened. I know everyone was happy that Carrie got out and that kind of thing, but clean up your mess when it occurs. She just left the situation and moved on as if it was never going to come back again. And we knew how big it was in the courtroom because when they caught the detective thinking he erased the metadata, it was like, wait a minute, whoa. So you knew this wasn't going to go away. Castro's leaving the office, so now he's trying to conjure up as much as he possibly can to clog up, Alicia when she comes into office. So how could you not think this wasn't going to come around? And you're right, for Kalinda not to do something to prevent this, to kind of clean it up at the time, just seems... un-Kalinda to me.
So, interesting question for you two. Does Kalinda sell out Diane? Because, like you mentioned, Allison, Kalinda wasn't going to use it, and Diane did. Does Kalinda argue that at one point and say, hey, I wasn't going to use this, I knew this was wrong, she did it, just punish her?
Well, we saw in the previews that Diane actually admit to it.
Yeah, Diane's going to go up anyways, but I'm saying, does Kalinda just sell her down the river and say it was her bad?
I don't know, because sometimes, as much as Kalinda can be an unloyal individual, she kind of care about Diane, I think.
I think she definitely cares about Diane, but I don't think it really matters whether she sells Diane out or not, because what does Kalinda really have to lose? What does she have? A business license to be a private investigator? Okay. Your license is, maybe her license is revoked or suspended. Diane is the one really on the chopping block, because she can be put up for disciplinary action with the bar. She can be suspended from the bar. She can lose her bar license altogether. So whether Kalinda decides to cooperate or not, I don't think it matters. It's still Diane who's really the one at risk right now for doing absolutely nothing but her job at the time.
Yeah.
What you said. Now, can this affect Carrie and open the case back up?
That's the other question.
Well,
you're a lawyer.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's closed, right?
But the metadata thing, I remember that being a big thing, and I'd have to go back and watch the episode, but it's also a question of Castro is leaving the office, so what's the likelihood as Alicia's coming into the SA's office that she will be the one to open that case again?
That's the storyline, friend.
Right.
That's the storyline.
What's the likelihood that she'll open this case again? It is possible because you find out new evidence. I can't remember... The case was closed with prejudice or without prejudice?
With prejudice, which means it's closed and we're not going to open it again, right?
Right.
But I would imagine that you can know this better than I do, but I would imagine the with prejudice is it's dismissed with prejudice, assuming there's no massive ethics violation.
Yeah, but it still comes up to whether the SA's office wants, because it becomes a question of, do you want to use the taxpayers' dollars to pursue this case, again, kind of thing. And, it's a thing of, like we said, Castro's leaving, Alicia's coming in. It's a bigger question of, will Alicia want to pursue it?
Yeah. I feel like if they do open back up, whatever evidence Kalinda had at the last minute that she was going to use instead of the metadata will work for Carrie as well. So.
Right. And she could present that, but it's still a question of Diane got up in front of a judge and said X, Y, and Z, didn't confirm it, just went with it, doing what she does every single time we've seen him in the court. Like, Kalinda runs into the last minute all the time.
Yeah.
And no one ever questions it. But it is Diane's ultimate responsibility to know that whatever she's presenting to the judge is true.
We so she.
Tough stuff.
Yeah.
She
Tough
is
stuff.
the main person on this show, and I love Diane, so hopefully she doesn't get in too much trouble. She's popular. I feel like one of the board members would just give her a slap on the wrist or look out for her or something. I don't know how it works out.
Or her buddy Reese Dipple could help her.
O-R-D.
Let's talk about Diane and Reese and this mock trial, which they don't write these episodes week to week. They're producing these somewhat far in advance. So it was perfect that this Religious Freedom Restoration Act thing came up this week in light of what's happening in Indiana in the real world. But what do we think about this mock trial? Obviously, we can debate the discrimination, the religious freedom. I think that's more of a political debate, not for the show. But I want to talk more about Diane's relationship with Reese and what she's proving to him, and to me, at what point she's going to realize he's not worth it.
I was saying she looks like, I'm not going to use that word. She looks like his little punk girl.
I know which word you were going to use.
You know, the little guinea pig.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, he's a millionaire. You lost your last client. This is helping you out money-wise or whatever the case may be. But he's using you. And after you realize that the first time he manipulated you back into the situation and continued to use you. You know what I'm saying? And I think he does like her. It might even turn him on to see her in action and, you know, be that powerful, dominant woman and when she's in her doing her job. But it's like he's using her.
Yeah, at what point is
the only thing I just don't like. Like, every money, as I always say, is not good money.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Diane, some of this kind of legal sparring is game for her. She somewhat enjoys it. And when she left and the judge ruled in her favor, whomever the professor, the con law professor ruled in her favor, she took it as a real victory. But I think when she realized that RD was still going to back this case regardless, I think she's starting to realize, okay, this is not about really me proving a case. I'm helping, and he even said it. She even said it before. You want me to do this to strengthen your case? And he was like, absolutely. I just don't think she realized before the lengths to which she would go to prove a point. So I think she's going to realize really soon that, yeah, his legal fees may be coming in. They may be humongous, maybe seven figures. But that's what I said to myself. I was like, Diane, you're doing this mock trial. You don't at all believe in what he's doing. You made a point of telling him before you took him on as a client, we will not do pro-choice cases. We will not do any anti-abortion cases. But what else? But what are you doing? You've just strengthened his case against gay marriage.
But then again, I did like how she flipped the script and turned around and had his nephew up on there.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
It was dope. I was like, okay, you coming back being a little boss. That's cute. But still, she's the little...
Yeah, she's playing
getting
herself.
played. Yeah, she's getting played a little bit by him. And he seems like, I know think tanks do good work to a certain extent, but he seems like when you're that rich, he's whatever the third richest guy in the country, whatever the story was.
Right.
Everything can become a game at that point. Who cares? He can retain Diane for 7 figures because he's got 10 figures.
That's what I'm
What's the
saying.
difference?
He's getting off on this. This is fun to him.
Exactly,
This,
and everything's a game for him. So we can have a mock trial. You know, a normal client would never have a mock trial.
Right.
They just got to go to trial. But he can have a mock trial. He can play the game. He can push the case anyways, in spite of how well Diane does, because he just wants to have the ants kind of play it out.
But I do think he respects her. I think
for
he
sure.
respects her. I think he thinks she has a brilliant legal mind, especially when he pulled her into the side and was like, where's Diane Lockhart? Like, where's that person who... And she was like, oh, this is... You want me to really go in for this. So I think he respects her, but you're right. I think she is a puppet in his game, and a person that rich and that powerful, he has tons of puppets. And she's just lining up as one of the puppets now.
Well, I did want to make note about him. He looked good in a suit. When he was out there in his little gun clothes, I was like, wait, that's the same guy? Oh, I mean, he may be a little chubby, but he cleaned up. He's decent.
You never cease to amaze us, Alison.
I know. I amaze myself sometimes. I mean, all the time. Gone with the wind, fabulous. Moving on, Bobby.
Oh my. Okay, let's move on. Where the hell do we go from there? The Reese thing is interesting. The Reese and Diane sort of represent, at least right now, and it looks like they will in the short-term future, the theoretical side of the law, whereas everything else is the practical side.
Right.
The state's attorney is the political side. The Lockhart, Florrick, Lockhart, Agos is the practical side, And this is the real theoretical side. And if you have a legal background or you're even just interested in it, that's, I think, the really interesting thing is the law impersonal? Should the law always be personal? When you forget about the human touch, do you lose sight of the law? Those are huge questions that they're answering in like 6 lines at the end of an episode. But we could debate that for 15 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I went back and forth, and I am in favor of gay marriage, but there were times when they were talking about it and saying, when do you have to decrease the amount of religious, latitude you allow in order to protect people and not discriminate against them. And I went back and forth like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So you're right. It's not one of these kind of things where it's like, this is my position. Every time they brought something up, I thought, again, like even when the guy at the end was like, no one's ever asked me, yeah, I'm gay, but I'm a Christian. Like, what do I think? I was like, oh my gosh, this is just so interesting. So, right, we could do a whole second show on just the R&D
from a production perspective, I love Reese Dipple's character because it really, a lot of people say the show is smart in a lot of ways, and I think it is. I mean, but there's also a lot of ways where it's very stereotypical, like we've talked about with how they deal with like hackers and the internet and stuff, super stereotypical. Oh my gosh. But this is a very, for cable, primetime television, for basic cable, it's a very nuanced discussion of some of these issues. And this thing going on in Indiana with the RFRA right now is very polarized. And if you're on one side, you think one thing, and if you're on the other, you think the other, and ain't nobody trying to listen to each other. But this one, at least when, at least for Tara, you and I, our liberal perspectives, we see this show and we're with Diane, and we're like, this is what Diane, we're with her. But then you see Reese and you're like, So that's the more nuanced other side. It's not the bigots, it's not the crazy other side, but that's the more nuanced discussion. Let's think about it for a little bit. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, and maybe we still come to the same conclusions we did. I definitely do.
But it made me think.
Exactly. At least you think about it, and there's a more nuanced discussion here than just being like, I'm right, you're wrong, you're right, I'm wrong, blah, blah, blah. And that's tough to do in 44 minutes on CBS, and I got to believe that at least with Reese, they're really doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, they bring out a lot of gray. They bring out a ton of gray in these episodes.
Which they should. Everything is gray. Nothing's black and white. Everything is gray. I like him a lot. I hope he sticks around. And we need him to stick around for Diane because she's not a part of anything with Alicia anymore. Yeah. Wow, another non-existent, totally invisible character. See you later, Carrie. Nice knowing you.
That is true. And that's what I'm thinking, too. I'm like, what's going to be the thing that keeps him around since Alicia, well, if she moves into the SA's office, we'll see. But let's say she does move into the SA's office. There's nothing, keeping Carrie around. Kalinda's leaving, we know that. Right. Poor Carrie, she's going to be out there in the wind.
Sad.
Yeah. We'll see. And no David Lee today. I know he's not in every episode, but I like me some David Lee sometimes. I could do without Julius. Yeah. This is kind of whatever. But David Lee, I like that guy. What's the deal with Canning? Where's Canning right now? He's not dead.
No question.
No, we don't know.
Yeah, okay.
We don't know. Yeah, we haven't heard that he's died. We assume he's out of the hospital.
We would have heard.
Yeah. No, we don't know.
He's just on bed rest or something.
Yeah, he might be back.
Okay, good. We should have him back, too. And we know, based on news and gossip from a couple weeks ago, we're going to see Frank Brady again soon.
Yes.
We don't know how. I would imagine maybe next week he comes back.
Maybe an appearance or,
Maybe like, look, Alicia, you need to think twice. You're not made for this.
But something like this, like election tampering, is something that Frank Brady would be so against ethically, that I can't even imagine how he would even respond.
Can they bring it back up and re-vote? Like, how does this work?
Well, we're going to have to see. I mean, they'd have to, they would have to invalidate the election. They'd have to have a, special election. She could probably not be a part of it. I don't know what the rules are. Maybe.
It could be an interesting thing. But like we were saying, just the thought of it, for someone to go, really, did she do that, can completely taint her entire career in that office, if she keeps the office.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's do some really quick news and gossip and then get to predictions because we got some good ones.
AfterBuzz TV News.
I have been holding this for 2 weeks, and I'm finally going to drop it. And it's not even a big piece of news.
It is when you're talking. Well, I'm not even going to mention who's
holding something for 2 weeks. It must be juicy.
It is Chris Noth, who, of course, plays Peter Florrick. He is starring in a new movie called After the Ball. It opened up in Canada about a month ago. I was going to do this 2 weeks ago, but it's a little late. Opened up in Canada about a month ago. It will be in the U.S. and in theaters and video on demand on April 24th. So, 2.5 weeks from now.
I'll be watching.
Here's the log line for the film. You guys ready? After a young fashion designer runs afoul of her corrupt stepmother and stepsisters, she dons a disguise to help save the family business for her father. Chris Noth is the father.
Well, look, we have to remember that he started on like Law and Order or something.
And he did Sex in the City.
And then he did Sex and... So this sounds much more like he's going back to his Sex in the City, roots, which I'm totally on board with. Even if he wants to use the name Mr. Big, doesn't matter. I'm going to watch it regardless.
I did read some of the reviews, and let me just say it is not Citizen Kane. So let's... they also, but reviewers were kind of like, okay, you can stomach it. It's not like, Geely or something. One movie critic said,
wow.
if this helps,
Wow.
One movie critic said it is like Shakespeare's Twelfth Night meets the fashion industry.
See?
So
sounds kind of interesting.
There you go.
I'll be watching.
So if you were in Canada, I know we have a lot of international viewers. If you've seen After the Ball, or if you haven't, go see it. Tell us what it's like. It will be in America April 24th. It is After the Ball, and Chris Noth is playing the father.
The father.
So
I'm
we'll
all
see.
on it. I'm all on
We're
it.
gonna have to
Thank
check
you.
that out.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing. Good job, Chris. All right.
job.
Predictions. Let's do it.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Just checking my good wife tweets. We got a live tweet from AfterBuzz TV. You ever heard of those guys?
Oh,
At
yeah.
AfterBuzz, some
Something
people.
every
I
now
don't know.
and again.
Something. Who knows? If you are watching live, you can tweet us. So if you follow AfterBuzz TV, do it. All right, let's get to predictions. I've got some good ones, but I want to hear from you guys.
Bobby, you always do that. I have some good ones, but I want to hear from you guys first.
You finish with the best.
No.
Oh, I won't even comment.
Tara?
Well, I mean, my prediction has to do with Diane coming up with the next week. I'm not quite sure. We don't really know how it's going to play out, but we know Diane can be in big trouble. And I think the person who's going to come to her rescue is going to be RD. I think RD's going to use whatever power he has in order to help her out. And that's because, and I think after this episode, she is going to, of course, she's going to want his legal fees, but she's going to kind of realize what's happening in the pawn that she, the house, the game that she's being played in. But I think he respects her that much and wants her to remain the position that she's in. I think RD's going to come to her rescue. Don't exactly know how, but people that rich and powerful,
right?
Many things can happen.
It's all politics in this world.
It can make many things happen.
And RD is, at least it seems, to be a man of honor, even if he is kind of using her for what we've talked about. He is an honorable guy.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to cheat her out of anything. So, yeah, I that's a good prediction. I like it.
Oh, I get a good. Oh wow, I got a compliment from Bobby. That's a good prediction.
That's a first.
What's up with you two today?
That he has the best ones over there. I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, Allison, what about you?
Emphasize my name, Allison. My predictions is that, honestly, I don't think Alicia has what it takes to be in office, but I know for a fact she's going to run to Peter for some help. She's going to have a nervous breakdown, and it may be close to not getting her into her position, into the SA office.
You think it's like a come to Jesus moment? She's going to be like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this.
I really think it's going to be like a really big nervous breakdown. It's like, I can't do this. I thought I had it. I need you, Peter, help me. And it's just like, I'm not mentally able to do this. That's what the whole Alicia thing. It's going to be a big breakdown. As far as Kalinda, we all know she's going off the show soon, so something is going to happen with her. And as far as Diane, I just wish her the best. I don't know with my prediction on that yet, because me seeing the teaser for next week, it's like, okay, she's in front of the panel. I don't know. I have to actually see next week. I'm really nervous because I actually like her. So,
yeah, for sure. I will predict about Petra. I think something is fishy about this vote rigging thing coming so fast out of left field. Eli knows everything before it happens, and he would have been tipped off by somebody somewhere somehow that even the inkling of this was going to happen. So the Petra thing goes two ways. Either Eli and Peter are in very deep in election corruption, and they knew this was a thing, and oh my God, they got caught, which would make sense with Eli's line, "We are so screwed," or whatever he said.
Dun, dun, dun.
That would be huge.
That would be huge.
Or the other way it goes, it'll swing, an extreme one way or extreme the other. The other way it goes is Petra pulled this out of her behind and had a flimsy source or something, whatever, and her vendetta against Alicia is going to kind of come out and be solidified, and she is going to lose her job, respect, ethics, things, whatever, and she's going to completely discredit herself. The rumor might still hurt Alicia, like we talked about, but I think it's very plausible that it'll come out that Petra is just talking out of her ass, and this thing was on a flimsy source or an anonymous thing, or it wasn't confirmed or whatever. She went too fast because Peter embarrassed her on television. and it's going to come back and bite Petra. I think we're going to see Petra.
I might agree with you on that.
I got a vibe from Petra that she was a little
thirsty. She's too anxious. Like, what is wrong? What's the issue? What do you have against her? Like, why are you so thirsty to beat Alicia down? It's something personal, and she's just being thirsty. Like, chill out, drink some water.
I have to give you credit where credit. I have to give credit where credit is due. Those were pretty good, Bobby.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. That's it. All right. Hey, speaking of, because Allison's tweeting right now, Twitter, Instagram, where can people find you two ladies?
You guys can find me at That's a Law at Instagram, Twitter, and that'salaw.com.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Please hit me up at TJ Wagging Her Tail.
All right. I'm at Bobby DeMuro on Twitter, at Mr. Bobby DeMuro on Instagram. That's it this week for The Good Wife. We will be back next Sunday with Lord knows what.
I can't wait for that episode. I'm excited.
That's it, guys. We'll see you guys in a week. Thank you for watching here on AfterBuzz TV.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.